Hello friends, and welcome to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. This is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today we are going to look at this week's meta report. Now, the meta report can be found at SWGOH.GG. If you click on the home page and click on meta report, it will bring this up. Now, what the meta report is and what it does, it is a daily rundown of the leaderboard or the leaders in the arena. Now, this looks at 2,665 different arena teams, or specifically those arena teams that are in the first place. I know that there's an API that's synced with the game so that this website can promote this type of thing. It's pretty great. But what it looks at is a few different things. The first thing that you can do is you can look at all rank 1 teams. Now, that's all rank 1 teams of the 2,665 different arena teams, or different arena shards. And what you can do with that information is build a team or see what teams are number 1. Then you can look at ranks 1 through 10 and also 1 through 100. This information is great, but this information does change on a daily basis. Now, it's unlikely to change too much from day to day, but when a new character or a new thing is introduced, like we just had with Thrawn or we had with Nihilus, you're going to get a difference or a change in this information. And I specifically want to do this maybe once a week, maybe once a month. It'll just really depend on what's going on in the game, whether that type of video will bring value to you, the viewer. Before we really begin and dive into what the metadata or the meta report says, I want to say that the most important thing is what's happening on your shard. Now, if your shard differs from this, then, build a team that's going to be able to dominate your shard. Do some research, look into your shard, look into the players that you are against, and see what you can do and how you can compete against those specific teams. That is the most important data that you need to have. But as a whole, as a game, this is still very important to look at. Now, we're just going to look at the rank 1 leaders. Now, this is all those 2,665 teams and who their leaders are. And coming in first is Clone Trooper Rex. Now, this isn't any bit of a surprise. If you go through any shard right now, it's just going to have Rex across the board. And he's a very solid player. Rex is the lead for the Cleanse team, or he is one of the leads for the Cleanse team. And he's a very, very valuable character. Now, next in line, we have Darth Maul. Now, what's interesting of this is out of that huge thousands of teams, Rex makes up 46% of them as the lead. And Darth Maul, who comes in number 2, is only 16%. So that tells you really who you need to be farming. And that is Rex. If you don't have Rex at gear 10, he's viable. At gear 11, he really does hold his own. You put on some great mods, even decent mods at gear 11. Great mods at gear 11 are going to make him unstoppable, or just so much more bad A. Even if you don't want to farm Rex for the arena team, he is still a really good character to farm, simply because of his position or his skill in the heroic AAT, and just with the other Clone Troopers, it's solid. But like I said, Darth Maul comes in second with 16%. Wedge comes in third with 15%. Qui-Gon Jinn comes in fourth with 9%. He's actually tied with General Kenobi, and then then coming in after Kenobi is Darth Vader. Then we have a new addition, and that is Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, Thrawn has only been part of the game for a couple of weeks now, and I'm curious to see how he is going to change the meta over the next month or the next 2 months. I'm also curious to see how the meta will change this month when we get this new Ewok rework. I am looking forward to seeing that. Maybe we can get an Ewok as a meta leader. That would be pretty sweet. But after Thrawn, we have Nihilus, Finn, and Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, if we look at the top 5 squads that are... Now, these are the squads that are still in number 1 place, and based off of, that list that we just read, top 1, first squad with 67% of all first place rankings is Rex, General Kenobi, Chirrut, Baze, and Darth Nihilus. Now, you have Rex, General Kenobi, and Chirrut. That is the triple cleanse. Baze and Darth Nihilus are just powerhouses, and then working together, they're just pretty sweet. Now, coming in second with only 24% of the teams that make up this is Rex, Chirrut, Baze, Darth Nihilus, and R2-D2. So you switch out General Kenobi for R2-D2. Now, if you are not in a heroic tank guild, or a guild that's running the heroic tank, it might be a better option to go with R2, because I joined a heroic tank guild a couple of months ago, and I still don't have General Kenobi, and I won't have him for another probably a week or two. But even once I get him, I'm not going to get him set. I'm not going to get him geared to 10 or 11 for some time, for a couple more months. He will become a focus once I get him. But until that happens, if you're really wanting to build out that triple cleanse team, maybe R2-D2 is the next safest bet. Darth Nihilus is viable. He's a solid character. But if you don't have him 7-star, he's not terrible, but he's a lot better if you can get him to gear 11 with some solid mods. When he first came out, he was viable, I believe, at 5-star in the arena. Now that a lot more characters have him, or a lot more players have him, that may go down, his viability. Now, if you're coming from 1000th rank plus, and you want to move up, maybe having a 5-star Nihilus is going to work for you. But if you're trying to break into the top 100s, you're going to want him to at least be gear 11, even if you don't have him very high up. He's a farm, but he's going to be a hard character to farm. Third on the list, with making up 21% of all teams in the first rank, is Wedge, Biggs, Chirrut, Baze, and R2. So we've got that Rex swap out, and we have Wedge. Now, Wedge is a fairly easy character to farm, and a lot of players have him by now. And so if you want to use Wedge, try him out. I'm going to create a video with this team probably tomorrow just to see how I do. I have Wedge and Biggs gear 9 and 10, I believe. I have Chirrut and Baze somewhere around the same lines, and then I have R2. I think R2 is like 7 or 8. I just want to see how I do and how I perform with this team at lower gear, at lower levels. Fourth place, Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Knight Anakin, Grandmaster Yoda, General Kenobi, and R2-D2. Now, this is one of those teams that's really, really solid. I'm going to say that you're going to need a Zeta on Qui-Gon Jinn, you're going to need 2 Zetas on Grandmaster Yoda, and you're going to need 1 or 2 Zetas on R2-D2. Now, that's the thing, too. A lot of these teams are made up of really solid teams with some powerful Zetas. Wedge, Biggs, Chirrut, and Baze don't have Zetas, but R2 has 2. So if you're looking for kind of an economy team that you can farm fairly easily, 21% of the teams are made up of the Wedge, Biggs, Chirrut, Baze, and R2 teams. Not a terrible team, and again, it's not hard to farm. So that might be an option, especially if you're coming from like the 500s plus, 1000s plus. Give it a shot. Lastly, what's interesting, what I like about this meta report, is it actually shows you the top 10 squad members at rank 1. So these are the characters that make up squads, the top 10 characters that make up that very first position across that 2,665 team. What's interesting about this is coming in number 1 is not Rex, but is Darth Nihilus. And so you can see the importance of Nihilus, or you can see people's reliance on Nihilus through this. And that's interesting, because Nihilus is a great character, but they're using him with that Annihilate ability. Now, he also, his other ability, now his Drain Force ability is also very potent and effective in an arena team. It deals special damage to enemies with a 50% chance, now this is doubled, 100% chance against a debuffed enemy, to increase the cooldown by 1. For each cooldown increase, reduce the cooldown of Annihilate by 1. So if you're increasing, if you debuff everyone, like if you throw in debuff maybe with 5 characters, all of a sudden Annihilate goes down by 5, and so you can use that a lot quicker. Instead of a 6 or an 8 cooldown rate, it has, it'll be down to 3 if you can just make them last 3 turns. Or if you can do it again or if you can make them last 3 turns, then hey, you can just take out one of their heavier hitters. So it does show you the value of that. Now, next underneath Nihilus is General Kenobi. Underneath Kenobi is Baze, then Rex, then Chirrut, R2-D2, Kylo Ren. Grand Admiral Thrawn is creeping up there. He is in 19% of all first tier teams. So that's something very interesting. So keep in mind, I want to keep an eye on Rex, or I want to keep an eye on Grand Admiral Thrawn to see his progression over the next couple of weeks, and especially when we get a Jedi Luke, I want to see what it'll look like against a Jedi Luke. That'll be interesting for sure. What do you guys think? What is the makeup of the top team in your shard, or are you the top team in your shard? Leave a comment in the section below, subscribe, share our video, like us, let us know what you think, and if you're curious or you want a video, leave a comment and let me know what kind of video you want, and I'll do it. I'll do my best to do it. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.